Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. In this video I will read some scary stories from Reddit. Let's begin. When I was about 4 years old, my family ended up staying at the Cedar Lodge Motel, where Cary Stayner worked right before he murdered 4 women. My family drove to Yosemite, and it was a long drive for us 3 kids, all under the age of 7 plus 2 adults, and a fuckton of mountains will do that. By the time we arrived at the motel, it was late, we were all cranky, and we couldn't wait to get out. But the moment we pulled in, something set my mom's teeth on edge, and she insisted that we left and found another hotel reservation or not. My mom has always had this sixth sense, and her gut has actually saved us a couple of times, but my dad was tired and convinced her to ignore her gut and stay for just the night, and the next morning we'd leave. I can remember my mom actually refusing to let go of our hands, making us stay right by her side as she kept looking around while checking in. To try and get her to relax, my dad suggested we go to the pool, thinking it would calm her down. Well, when we got there, there were no towels, so my mom called the front desk. The moment the man delivering towels arrived, my mom immediately grabbed us out of the water and rushed us back to the room. The man gave her the absolute creeps, and she says there was just this feeling of pure evil when he looked at us. That night, my mom and dad pushed the dresser in front of the door and had us all sleep in the same bed. The next morning, we left to go to another hotel, but my mom couldn't stop talking about how evil that motel was. About 2 months later, she and my dad were up late, watching the news, when they started reporting on a man who had murdered a woman and 2 young girls in Yosemite. Just as my mom began to say, "I bet it was at that motel," they showed Cary Stayner's face and said, "It occurred at the Cedar Lodge Motel." Cary Stayner was the man who brought us our towels at the pool. We've never gone back to Yosemite, and my mom is always insistent that we listen to our gut feeling. And if something feels wrong, we should listen to our gut. Story number 2. I have lived in a haunted house throughout my entire life. It was my grandparents' house, built on just originally vacant farmland. Anyways, that house was definitely haunted, with no real bad history on the land. But my mother improperly used an Ouija board in her teens. Before anyone in the family even passed, crazy stuff would happen. When I was little, I vividly remember being chased upstairs by some sort of shadow figure. It was slim and tall enough to touch the ceiling. I lived in my grandpa's room. They slept separate due to my grandma's snoring. I would hear screaming that only I could hear as a little kid. When I grew older, it mostly just became an eerie feeling. Family members passed, and you would have encounters with their ghosts as well. I would stay there in the summers, only after that, and mainly just hear footsteps and odd whispery chatter. Some poltergeist activity would occur, like doors closing on their own in places where they really can't, and you would get unexplainable scratches on yourself. 1 year after my grandpa passed. It was expected, as he had been fighting cancer. It was only recently I found out the oxygen machine in his room kept being tampered with. Everyone loved him, nobody would have a reason to do that. My nephew, he began to see things and made odd imaginary friends. He once described the same screaming I could hear, and see the same figure I could see. In one account, my nephew described seeing a deer-like demon standing behind me. I moved into the house as a temporary solution late last year. Well, after that, paranormal activity really ramped up, such as I would hear breathing in my ear as I fell asleep. Everyone was seeing that shadowy figure. It would typically just stand there, kind of wobbling back and forth slowly. I once was sleeping in my grandpa's old room and woke up to the figure, which was in the corner, almost hunched up against the ceiling, like it was a spider in the corner of the room. During those, my grandma's health was declining. The amount of oxygen she needed was going up rapidly to the point her home machine wouldn't cover it, and well, she passed. The house just had an eerie silence to it after my grandmother's death. It has happened multiple times where you could be in the living room and clearly hear footsteps walk up onto the porch like someone was about to knock on the door, only to find no one there. For several nights, I would hear the pattern my grandma took to go get water in the night, and the sound of ice in the glass clinking against the wall. Over the years, I got used to the activity and actually felt less freaked out about it. I do believe that shadow figure is purely evil though. It seems to come around more when someone is about to pass and even interfere with their passing. Recently, I feel like a lot of these paranormal activities feels like dead family members visiting, as I have even seen an apparition of my grandpa and my mother, and so have other people.